Kevin Brady joins us right now, the Texas congressman, ranking member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Of course, he was the genius behind the tax cuts that came to pass under the Trump administration. Probably not a big fan of this spending right now. Congressman, good to have you.
Good to see you, Neil. And you're right, I'm not a fan. One, because I don't believe this is legal. Look, the president is trying to use taxpayers as a personal campaign slush fund, and it's wrong. And I don't believe he has the legal authority to do it. But I think, to your bigger point, this is just so unfair. So I have a neighbor who's a detective who's worked 3 jobs as long as I've known him, including selling carpet. Plus, his wife worked to make sure that their daughter could go to a state college, a good quality college, and come out of there debt-free. So now they have to pay taxes to pay off, after all that sacrifice of years, pay off the debt of someone else's student loan. And I just think here you've got under President Biden. So under this scheme, you've got a single mom who will pay off the debt for a computer scientist. You've got a plumber who'll pay off the debt of a physician assistant. You've got a janitor who'll pay off the student debt of a IT architect or a psychologist. You know, how is that fair in anyone's world? It just isn't. And so we are going to fight this because it is illegal. It is unfair. And as you said, it will drive inflation and college costs higher.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, to your point, the president can do this. He says since this would not be a legislative initiative and it would be just added to the debt, I think that's one of the arguments they're going to make, that it's okay. But I don't know enough about the mechanics of how things work in Washington to know whether you can do something like that in Washington.
Yeah, I can't. I've never in all my years seen anything like this. $300 billion at the stroke of a pen on student debt. Again, desperate to try to salvage both the midterm elections and his presidency. You know, I don't expect Democrats in Congress to do anything but salute this, even though most of this goes to the wealthy and predominantly Anglo college students. I don't see them lifting a finger, but I think a lot of America, once they hear about this, are going to be very angry.
And it depends as well, Congressman, right, on how this $10,000 is handled, right? Whether the government cuts a check to college kids or those who are falling under this $125,000 and under, ratio, or just lops it off from whatever overall loans they have. I mean, it could have very different consequences, right?
Yeah, it will. And I think there are a lot of Americans, I think like me, I worked a lot of jobs through college, from construction worker, janitor, meat packer, worked bartender, waiter, all of that. Still had a small student debt I had to pay off over the years. There are a lot of Americans who've done the exact same thing who will believe this is absolutely unfair.
And there are, to your point, many who have dutifully paid off their loans or probably hearing about this. And then you have to worry, Congressman, about the unintended consequences, those who are left out of this, who aren't going to get part of it. But furthermore, those who might be in arrears on their auto loan payments or their mortgage payments. We have a record number of Americans now, 20 million by last count, who are late on their utility payments. So isn't everyone going to want, some of this?
Yeah, there is no doubt. It always, giveaways and bailouts always encourage more giveaways and bailouts, especially of this size. But can you imagine, we are in debt already. The infrastructure bill isn't going to reduce debt. Neither is this latest Inflation Reduction Act going to reduce inflation or the debt in any way. But can you imagine, if you had a fraction of that $300 billion, how we have a worker shortage. We need trades, we need skills, we need drivers, we need assembly line workers, all that. Can you imagine if just a fraction of that was devoted to reconnecting to work in higher skilled jobs that, frankly, our economy desperately needs, what that could do to actually grow the economy and give people opportunity rather than just pay off the debt for those who, went to college, got a degree, and still owe that debt.
There might also be the notion that for those who can't take advantage of this latest relief plan, if they just wait it out or you continue not paying their monthly loan payments, eventually help will be on the way. Do you worry about that?
I do, and I think that's already the expectation. Just as we saw, those ongoing stimulus checks create the sort of expectation that there'll be more, those very lavish unemployment benefits that really discourage people from reconnecting to work. We saw still the hangover from that today. I think you'll see it's human nature. And we've got a president willing again, I think, to tap everyone's working families to pay for what he hopes will be political votes come, November or in his own reelection. I think you've really created a moral hazard here. And
you could have more voting against the president or Democrats if they're not part of this gravy train, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The forgotten man and forgotten woman, who will end up, paying for all of this, who've worked their whole lifetime, maybe didn't go to college, went to a skill or worked to pay off their own debt or their kids' student loans because they didn't need to have them. I think there'll be a real anger among working families.
Real quickly, the administration has argued in the past that a lot of these kids were snookered into loans and signing on the dotted line. I always say that's an unfair indictment of kids that they're that stupid. What do you think?
Yeah, it really is. And for the most part, it's the students and the families making those decisions. Right. And, it looks easy to rack up $40,000 or $50,000 debt until you realize just what an anchor it is around you, as you're trying to pay it off. And I think student debt, frankly, is one of our big challenges in the economy. This is exactly the wrong way to go about it.
All right, Kevin Brady, great seeing you again. Thank you very much. And
good to see you, Neil. Thank you.